Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit 1, Notes 2, Points, Lines, and Planes. So to start off with, we're going to talk about a point. A point is a location with neither shape nor size. So a point is basically like a dot, okay? A point is basically like a dot. So how do we name this? That's what we're going to start off with. How would we name a point? We name a point by a capital letter. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example of what that would look like. So we start, and we're going to start by making our point. So I'm going to make my point, and I'm just going to label it with a capital letter A. So I named that point A. Next, let's talk about a line. A line is made up of points with no thickness or width. There is exactly one line through any 2 points. Okay, so if you think about it, if you have 2 points, the shortest distance between those 2 points is a straight line. That's why there's only one line between 2 points, because you're just going to go from point A to point B. You're just going to get there. Okay, so it has no thickness or width. It's just a line. It's two-dimensional. So we represent a line 2 different ways. So let me just start by drawing a line here. Okay, on this line I'm going to have point A and I'm going to have point B, and I'm also going to have a cursive letter S. So there are a couple different ways we could name this line. So let's go over those different ways. So to start off with, we can call it AB, and then we can put a little line over it. That says that's the line AB. We could call it BA, put a little line over it, and that's going to call it A. Or we could just call it lowercase script s. Now script is the same as cursive, so writing in cursive. So A, B, B, A, or cursive S. Let's take a look at a plane. A plane is a flat surface made up of points that extend in all directions. There's exactly one plane through any 3 points, not on the same line. All right, so how are we going to name a plane? So plane is like a shape, a square, a triangle, a rhombus, something like that. And it's named by a capital script letter. And there are 3 points on a plane, and we could also name it that way as well. So let's draw a plane. So I'm going to put point A, point B, and point C in here. That should be a C. And I'm going to call this plane K. So there's a couple different ways that we can name this plane. We can name it K, or we can name it A, B, C. It doesn't matter the order. You could name it B, A, C, C, B, A. The order doesn't matter. You could really name it in whatever order you want. All right? Let's take a look at some vocabulary to start off with. Okay, let me hit my view here, change that a little bit so it's easier to see. There we go. Okay, so let's start with some vocabulary. So first we have collinear, and that means that the points lie on the same line. So let's go ahead and let's draw that. So we're going to draw a line. And I'm going to put a point A, and I'm going to put a point B. We could say then that points A and points B are collinear. Let's take a look at our next word, coplanar. That means the points lie on the same plane. So let's go ahead and let's draw a plane. Not like an airplane, a shaped plane. So we're going to draw some points, A, B, C. All of those points lie on the same plane, so we could say that A, B, and C are coplanar. Let's take a look at the intersection. It's the set of points that 2 or more figures have in common. Okay, so the intersection is the set of 2 or more points that 2 or more figures have in common. You could look at that, think of it kind of like a Venn diagram. Do you remember when you would make Venn diagrams? This guy right here would be your intersection point. That's what an intersection is. That's what the Venn diagram represents, is that intersection. Okay, so let's take a look at this next one. So 2 lines are going to intersect at what? Well, let's take a look at that drawing I have there. 2 lines intersect. They're intersecting right there at P. Well, I notice P is being named by a capital non-script letter. So 2 lines intersect at a point. That is some awesome handwriting I have going on. 2 planes intersect. Well, I see that they're intersecting right here. And I notice that it's named by a lowercase script letter. That lowercase script letter represents a line. So 2 planes are going to intersect at a line. Okay, so this one intersected at point P. This one intersected at line lowercase script r. All right, now let's take a look at some of these. So Name the geometric term modeled by each object. So what would a floor represent? We think about it, floor is a flat surface. We could have multiple points on a floor. Let's just kind of draw a floor. I'm gonna make a beautiful floor. This, that's my floor. Okay, we can put a bunch of lines on here. A floor is gonna be represented by a plane. I want you guys to see if you can figure out what would a push pin represent. Here's my hint to you. A push pin is like a dot. So what would a dot represent? Last but not least, the intersection of two walls. So I have a wall here, and then I have a wall here. And we want to look at where they intersect. And they intersect right here. Well, they intersect at a line. So this one is a line. So make sure you take a look at number 4. Next, let's take a look at this one. Okay, let's see if we can make this just a little bit bigger. See if it'll, nope, it's not going to let it fit, huh? Okay, we'll go back to 75. I was just experimenting a little bit to see if we can make it a little bigger. So hopefully you can still see that. Okay, so for this one, we're taking a look at number 6. It says name a line containing point K. What is another way to name it? Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate point K. I see that point K is right here. Okay, so point K is on the line JL. So I'm going to name it JL. What's another way I can name it? Well, I could flip the letters around. I could name it LJ. Whenever you're labeling a line, you want to make sure you put those arrows over it. That's really, really important, okay? Name a plane containing the point L. What is another way? Remember, you can always name the plane by this capital script letter. So we can name it L. You can also name the plane by the points that are on the line. So we can name it JKL. We can name it Kel, K, or LKJ. We could also name it MJL. They don't even have to be on the same line. Any point that's on the plane, you can use to represent that specific plane. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Number 8 says to name 3 collinear points. Now, remember that 3 collinear points mean that they are on the same line. So I'm just going to pick a line. I'm going to pick this line right here, A, B, D. So because all of those are on, those points I just named are on the same line, 3 collinear points would be A, B, and D because they're all on the same line. Number 9 says to identify a line in this picture. Well, I already talked about this line here, we could call that AB. But I see that there's a lowercase script letter right there. So I'm going to use that to represent that line. So this line right here, I could call script M. Next it says identify a plane drawn in this picture. Remember, there's a couple different ways we can represent a plane. We could do a capital script letter, which we could do for this right here. We could identify the plane as K, or we could identify it by 3 points on the plane. Okay, that's another way. So let's take a look at this. So we're going to write some intersections. What is the intersection of the line BD? So let's erase this so we don't get all confused here. So what is the intersection of BD and AC? So here's the line BD, and here's the line AC. Where do they intersect? They intersect at point A. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. We want to figure out some other things. Now, does everybody see how at the bottom of this line here, it's dotted? Does everybody see that? That means that it's going through the plane. So if we look at part B where it asks us where K intersects with AD. K intersects with AD, so this line is actually going through the plane, so it's going to intersect at point B. I want you guys to go ahead and try part C on your own. Let's take a look at this next one. Draw and label a figure for each relationship. So first of all, line N intersects with plane P at point L. So first let's draw our plane. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Now I personally sometimes think it's fun to draw lines going through the plane. So that's what I'm going to do. And as I draw things, I like to label them. So I'm going to write my script P to label my plane. Actually, I should do that on the plane itself. Let's make that plane a little bit bigger. There's my plane, and I'm going to label that script P. Now, through that plane, I'm going to have a line. So I'm going to have a line, boop, and then it's going to go through my plane. and it's going to be called line, and then I'm going to do a lowercase script n, and it says it's intersecting it at point L. So notice how I'm labeling things as I go. So there's my point L. So that's it for number 12. So what I want you to do is let's get number 13 started. Line B and Y are coplanar in plane Q, but do not intersect. So first, let's draw that situation. Let's just draw a plane. Looks like we're going to need a plane. I'm going to start by drawing me a lovely plane. Line B and line Y are coplanar. So if you look back on your notes, remember that coplanar means that they are on the same plane. So I'm going to draw two lines on the same plane that do not intersect. So they're not going to touch each other. So in my case, I'm drawing them parallel. I'm going to call this one script B, and I'm going to call this one script Y. So I've got that done, and I've got that done. And this plane is script Q. Okay, they do not intersect. Line X intersects line B at point C and line Y at point D. So now I'm going to have another line that comes on down through this. Cross it here. Okay, so that line, and we can keep it within the plane if that's easier. This is line script X. It's crossing line B at point C, so I'm going to label that point right there with a capital C. And line Y at point D, so I'm going to label this point right here with a capital D. Last but not least, let's take a look at number 14. So for number 14, we want to draw, this is capital script R and capital script B. So that means I'm going to have two planes. So I'm going to make this my capital script R, and I'm going to make this my capital script B. Now they're intersecting at X, Y. Now this should have little arrows above it. So they're intersecting at a line. So this right here is the line where they're intersecting. And if they're intersecting at the line X, Y, that means there needs to be two points, X and Y, to identify that line. So I actually did most of this note sheet for you, and that concludes your notes for today. So show me that your note sheet is done, and I will get you the homework for the day. Thanks for listening.